Hello everyone, it's week 2 of the Recycle, Repurpose, Reuse prompt in the Facebook group, the Minx Media Emporium. Now, of course, last week we were making masterboard backgrounds to use for this week's project. I decided to make a French vintage themed masterboard, and this is my finished one here, so I absolutely love this. This is made up of a mixture of French vintage ephemera, some vintage themed wallpaper pieces and various French vintage stamps and tickets and that kind of thing. Now I will leave the link to the video showing how I made this, but some of you will remember that I decided to scan my masterboard halfway through before I'd added any of the final ephemera bits and pieces, just so that I could take this down a different route if I wanted to. So for instance, if I wanted to add French perfume bottles or butterflies or more flowers, then I could give this a completely different look to the one that I ended up with here if I wanted to. But week 2, the prompt this week, is to make something with the masterboards that we created last week. And for anybody who's interested in following along with us, as always, I'll leave the link to the Minx Media Emporium Facebook group in the description box below. Now, I've taken mine off to my local printers and I've had it copied. Let me just grab it. Where's it gone? Onto 400 GSM cardstock. So this is 400 GSM glossy cardstock or satin cardstock. I think it's actually known as photo paper. I've had this done several times before. I have a whole playlist of masterboard backgrounds which I'll leave in the description box below, painted ones and collage ones as well. Just so many different ideas and loads of ideas as to how you can use them as well. But as I say, this was done on satin 400 GSM cardstock, and I've had the finished one printed on the front and the one that I stopped at halfway through and scanned on the back. Now I like that this one here has got much more of a vintage feel, whereas this one here is brighter. That's just the way that it took the scan on my phone, and I'm more than happy with that. But this is what I'm going to be using today to create my project. Now I'm going to be making a journal with my cover, and you can see here that I've folded the piece of cardstock in half and I've got myself a centimetre spine. And the way that I've done that, this piece of paper measures 29.5 centimetres. So I'm using my scoreboard and I've just allowed myself a gap either end just because this is the easiest way to do it. 15 of course is the halfway mark, and I have scored 0.5 centimetre either side of that 15 centimetre score line, which has given me a centimetre spine. So I'm really happy with that. If you don't get it quite accurate, it's just really easy to trim off any excess on the edges until you're completely happy with it. So that's how I've done that. Next, I want to round the corners of my journal, and I'm using my small X-Cut corner punch here to do this, just because I want to add some sewing to my journal. So I'm just rounding the corners like this, and then I'm just going to whiz this off to my sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew all around the edges like so. I've sewn around the edges, and that's how that looks. If I hold it up like that, you might be able to see it a little bit better. I just love how adding sewing looks. I just used a grey, and this is just from one of these cheap kits that you get from Lidl that they sell here in the UK periodically from time to time for a couple of pounds. So I've been using grey. So what do I want to do next? I want to ink around the edges before I do anything else. So I'm going to use some Distress ink in frayed burlap, so we'll add that before we do anything else, just to get rid of the white edge here, and just add to that vintage look. So I shall go all around the cover just like this, and as soon as I've done that, I'll be back. I've inked around the edges and I just love the way that looks. That's just finished the cover off nicely. Now I'm really happy with the outside cover. That's nice and full, but I've got a couple of spots here on the the inside that I just want to add some more to. I've pulled out a couple of butterflies. I'm going to add one here like this, which I think works really well, and another one here. These are just vellum butterflies. I could have used butterflies cut out from wallpaper, but I want something that's going to be more flat to the page, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to go off camera now and struggle with this because I always have a hard time trying to get the backings off my stickers. So as soon as I've done that and stuck them down, I'll be straight back. So I've struggled with the butterflies and eventually got those stuck down. Now I've got some of these CD pouches, CD, DVD, plastic sleeves. I've had these in the cupboard for goodness knows how long, years and years and years. You know, in the cupboard underneath the stairs with all the business stuff that we've got in the house. So let me have a look. I want one to go on the right hand side here that I can put bits and pieces of ephemera in, so that will go there. This one here I want to cut down slightly. I just want a much shorter version, so I'm just going to go off to my paper trimmer now and just trim this off. I've cut this one down, so let me just show you what that looks like. So that's that one there, and that's the full-sized one. Now to stick these down to my background, and again the reason I like these is that they're see-through, so you can see all of the detail of the lovely background underneath. I'm going to use some of my red sticky, double-sided sticky tape, and what I want to do is just add some here like this, and I'm leaving a gap just so that I've got more room to put things in. If I'd have put the tape right to the edges, it just means that the pocket is more snug. This just gives me sort of like a concertina effect, which I like. So I'm just going to glue these down like this. I'm not measuring it, I'm just eyeballing this. So trim those off, and so those are going to stick down like that. So let me just burnish this down first, otherwise it will be really difficult to peel the tape off. So I can peel the tape now. There we go. And stick this down. So I want that to go just inside my stitching. I'm just using the stitching as a guide. So there we go. And then I've got a pocket with plenty of room there to fit some bits and bobs in. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this one here as well. So that's the way the pocket opens. So I want the strips on the back here. So I'll do that in exactly the same way. So if I fold the flap, then I know where to put my tape. So there and about there, like that. And you won't be able to see the tape. I mean, you can't see it. It's well and truly hidden by the background, which is really nice. Again, I'll just burnish that down so that I can peel the tape off, and we can pop the other one down on the other side. So that's going to go, again we'll use the stitching as a guide. There we go, like that. And so we've got that pocket there to put goodies in as well. Now I do want to have some kind of closure on this, so let me just have a think about what I might be able to use. I've pulled out a couple of grey buttons which I think will go really well, that I can use as a closure. They're the right size, they match the grey in the background as well. I've also used a Sharpie marker just to mark the middle point. So this measures 5 inches, so I've put a dot at 2.5, and I've just threaded up some of that grey thread. And so what I want to do is, in fact, how can I do this? I just want my button to go in the middle. It might have been easier for me to have done this before I stuck it down, but of course, me being me, didn't think about it. So I'm just going to sew this on like this. And so this will form just a little closure for my pocket. So I'm just going to sew this like so. I'm going to go off camera and do this just so that I can make a nice neat job of it, but you can see how I'm doing it. So yeah, that's fine. So I've got enough threads in that, and then hopefully I've got a big enough tail just to make a knot in that, just to secure it. Yep, there we go, like this. And I'll just tie another one as well. Let's hold that there, pop that under there and just secure it, and then I can tie cut both of those off. Snip, snip. And then I'm going to do exactly the same with this one here. So I'll just make a mark again with Sharpie marker where I want that to go. So that's the central point there. Tie a knot in my thread. Let's leave a longer tail this time, just to make life easier for myself. 1, 2, 3. Pull that through. And then what did I do with the other button? So the other button is going to go on there, like that. So again, I'm just going to have to take my needle underneath like this and sew that one on there. A bit more fiddly this one, but it's doable. So I managed to get my buttons sewn on, and I've just got a really small piece of string here that I'm just going to use as a closure. So that will just wrap around my buttons like that to keep that closed. I love how cute that looks. And now I just want to find some papers to make a signature for my book. I've had a good rummage through my paper stash to pull out some pages that I thought I might be able to use for a signature. So let me just pop that to one side and talk you through what I decided to pull out. I've got a vintage ledger paper. This is just a blank one. So I've got that. I think that's lovely. I've also got a couple of pieces of French ephemera as well. This was another piece that I bought from La French Riviera via Etsy. I'll leave the link to her Etsy store in the description box below for anybody who's interested. So we've got that just to carry on with the French theme that we've got going on in the background. I've also got one of my hand dyed papers as well. This one was dyed using black brie tea. It turned out more grey. I was expecting it to be more bluey purple, but this turned out more of a grey, but I actually really like it in this journal here. So we've got a piece of that. I've also got a brown paper bag, and let me just show you how I've folded this. So this is the paper bag here. I've used one of these, and all I've done is folded it up like this to make a pocket. Then I've trimmed off the jaggedy edge, folded it in half like this. As I say, just trimmed off the edge, and then I've glued both sides down, so you can see where I've glued it here. So I've ended up with a pocket on the left hand side, and of course that one's glued shut as well, but it gives me the opportunity, once it's sewn into a signature, that I've got two pockets here and the one on the left. So that's how I did that. I've also got another French invoice here as well. I like the blue of this one. This is just a sheet that I got in a box from Daphne's Diary with a subscription I had a few years ago. Another piece of vintage paper, another sheet from Daphne's Diary, and then I've got these graph and architectural pages here that I picked up from the charity shop. Let me just show you the packs of these. So the red one, which is the red one? The red one here is a Chartwell Designers sectional pad. So that's what that looks like, and I just thought that was really fun. I think I picked these up for 50p each from the charity shop. And then the blue one, let me just flip that over and show you what that's like. This one's really thin, really interesting. And that one is Goldline 3-dimension perspective trial selection. Yeah, 50p from the charity shop, and I just thought those were really interesting for popping in journals. And that's it. So I think I've got 10 pages in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So just 10 pages for my signature, because of course it's the spine of my book. Where's it gone? Is only a centimetre, and by the time I've collaged in it as well, I don't want it getting too fat and bulky, so I think that's plenty. So I just need to take these off to my paper trimmer now and just trim them down so that they fit the journal. Now let me just measure my journal so that I can see what size I need to cut my pages down to. The journal measures widthwise 5.5 inches, so I'm going to cut my pages to no more than 5.25 inches. Of course, some of them are much smaller than that anyway. And then lengthwise we are about 8 inches, so I'm going to cut those down to 7.75. So as soon as I've cut these down, I'll be straight back. I've cut the pages of my signature down, so that's how that looks. I'm really happy with that. And I'm toying with the idea as to whether I want to round the corners or not. So they do fit nicely inside the journal, but I do think it would finish things off nicely if I rounded the corners. So let's go for it. I'm just going to do each page one by one. So we'll do that. And then I just need to sew it in. I've rounded the corners of my pages and popped them in the right position as well, so I just want to make sure that I'm happy with this before I start sewing the signature into the journal. So I'm just carefully having a look at this now just to make sure that everything is in the right place. This paper was so fragile. When I tried to trim it, it tore at the edges and at the top and a touch at the bottom as well. And I actually like how that looks. It's given it more of an aged vintage look, so I'm okay with that. So this all looks fine to me, so I'm happy with that, and I've got everything held in place with one of these giant paper clips. So what I want to do now is just mark the center. Let me just grab a pencil. So what does this measure? This measures approximately 7.5 inches. That's 3 3/4. So the center is there. And then if we measure an inch in, so that's 6.5 and 1.5. So that's where my sewing lines, is that right? No, what am I doing? An inch, silly me. So here we go. I've got my pokey tool at the ready. So I'm just going to go right the way through. There we are. The same here. Let's have a look actually. Is that going to catch that one? That one there, that one's the shortest. Yep, that's fine. So we'll go all the way through there, and the same on the bottom here as well. So now that I've got my holes in my signature, I'm just going to use this as a template to make some holes just on the centre of my spine here, like this. And then I've already poked some holes where I've made those pencil marks, so I've gone through like this. You'll be able to see it better on the front. So that's where my holes are. Then I've got myself a piece of waxed cord, which is 2.5 times the length of my journal. So 1, 2.5. And what I'm going to do now is go in through the centre. There we go. So in through the centre, leave myself a tail. Then I'm going to go in through the back like this on one of the ends. It really doesn't matter which one. Now this is the trickiest part, just trying to come in through all of the holes that you've made. Here we go. Make sure that that is nice and snug, then come out through the other end like this. So again, let's just try and line up all of those pages and go out through the other hole that I've made. Again, just making sure that that is nice and snug, and then back in through the centre again, like this. Now, what I need to do is make sure that I've got one of the strings on one side and one on the other. So I'm just tucking that underneath. Then I just need to make sure that that is nice and snug, which it is. So pull one string that way, one string up, one string down, so that you don't tear your pages. Tie it in a knot, We'll tie another knot as well, just so that it's nice and secure, and trim off the ends. And it's as simple as that, a really nice, easy way of binding your journal. And it just looks so nice and neat as well. And then if you want to, just to cover up any paper that might be showing, just use some distress ink just to cover that up, and job done. Now, I wanted to make a couple of pieces of ephemera just to tuck into this pocket here. I've got a piece of the wallpaper that I used in the background, so it's this wallpaper here, and I'm just wondering whether I've got enough to make a tag. So I'm just going to trim this off on my paper trimmer, and let's see what we can come up with. Now that's actually made a really nice tag, and I've still got this bit off the top and this plain bit from down the side, so I shall keep those bits as well. I'm just going to make a tab shape at the top here like this, and then I'm just going to use that to take it over to the other side. So how did that come off? So that was there, so I'm just going to pop that over to the other side now. That's right, isn't it? Have I got that the right way? Yep. So over to there, and just use that as a template so that both sides of the tag are symmetrical. It's so tiny I can barely get my scissors in there, so let's just trim that. There we go. So we've got a nice symmetrical tag. I like that. I'm not sure whether I want to add anything to the back or not, so I think I'm going to leave it. And this is just crying out for some kind of, I don't know, inspirational quote or poem or something as well, but you know, for the time being I'm just going to leave that be and just pop it in there. Now I want to make another tag as well. My friend Linda Cooper Pierce sent me a whole batch of these vintage shipping tags for my birthday earlier on in the year, and I just want to make a very, very simple tag with this as well. I've got some more of those vellum butterfly stickers. So I'm just going to pop 3 of those on there like that. So I'm just going to go off camera and fiddle around with the backs of these and glue those down. I just think that makes a really pretty tag as well. So that's my butterfly tag, really in keeping with the theme. So I'm just going to pop that in there like that. So we've got a couple of tags. Now, I left this last night because I just couldn't decide what else I wanted to add to it, and it was dinner time as well. Now, I've decided to leave the tag here as is. I've just cut the strings shorter as well because that's just more pleasing to my eye. I love the simplicity of that. And then I decided to add some inspirational words to the tag, blooming with love. Now, this came from the sheet that Anne Johnson left us in the Facebook group, the Mixed Media Emporium. Anne gave us access to some phrases that she had put together, and so I've just used this a lot. Thanks ever so much, Anne, if you're watching. So that is going to go in there like that. I just love the simplicity of that, and I just love as well just being able to see the details through this clear pocket here. So next I just want to add some bits and pieces to the pocket in the back. I just think this is so much fun. Now I've pulled out a few bits and pieces. In fact, let me just pop that to the side. I've got an idea for that a bit later. So these are just some bits and pieces that I thought I might be able to add to the pocket. Now I don't want to overload this and make it too fat, so you know, we'll just pull out a couple of bits. I've got a ticket here. I've got the only remaining piece of the wallpaper that I used in the background, so I thought I'd quite like to include that. That ticket actually goes really well with it. I've got a couple of French postage stamps from my stash as well. I've got some French vintage labels here. These are apothecary, is that right? Apothecary labels. I've got the other piece that was left over from the tag that I made, so we'll include that. Some French music paper, and again this was from La French Reverie, so I've got a couple of bits and pieces that came from La French Reverie here. Those are nice and thin. A couple of pieces of lace that was sent to me by my friend Lane. I've also got a doily, a couple of stickers as well, and I think that's probably all that's going to fit. I've got some other stickers from my stash as well. These are all French themed, by the way. Some of these have come from eBay or even Ali as well. So let's have a look and see what will fit inside this little pocket. And the idea is that this pocket is filled with bits and pieces that can be used for inspiration for creating journal pages at a later date. So we'll just pop a few bits and pieces in here, and as I say, these will hopefully inspire me to create some fun collage journal pages. So we'll put the bigger pieces in first and then these tiny weeny pieces in last. So here we go, we'll pop these in the front so that we know that that those are there as well. That little postage stamp, the little label. We've got this cute doily. I think that one came from In Love Arts. And then I've got a couple of pieces of lace that can just be tucked inside there as well. And then we can just close that up, and you know, that's not too fat. So how do I want that to close? I like it wrapped around there like that. And I just think that looks really cute. And that is a really inspirational journal to me. Now I do want to add something else to the front of the journal, because I'm just looking at this spot here, and that's the only area that's just looking as if it needs something else. Exactly the same on the back here. Now I've pulled out this washi tape in a grey tone that I think would just go absolutely perfectly. I'm going to cut a piece off though, because I know that if I don't get this straight, where everything is so linear on this page, it will really bug me. I know it's silly, but you know, that's just the way it goes. So we'll have that there like that, and that looks much more pleasing to my eye. And to keep the continuity, I'm going to add the same washi tape to the back as well. So I'm just going to cut that there and do the same. I really like this washi tape, it's ever so pretty. So there we go. I think, in fact, move it over just ever so slightly so that it's not quite so close to that ticket there. I like that. There we go. That looks much more pleasing to my eye. It's just added a tiny weeny bit more detail. The colours are in keeping, and I really like how that looks. Now I do want to do a journal page as well, just to get me started off in this gorgeous book. I've pulled out a few bits and pieces. I've got these bits and bobs here. I've got a vintage doily, lace doily. This is just a paper doily that I had from La French Riviera. It's really tatty and broken in places, and I love how that looks. I've also pulled out a French postage stamp as well, a couple of black and white stickers which I thought might look quite cute, one of the pharmacy labels, and also one of these that I received from Your Creative Studio. So I just need to find a page where I might be able to put these, and because of the stickers I'm thinking it might look nice on a grey background. So we've either got this one here, or of course the other side of it as well. I think I like this page here, and I'm just going to have a play around with placement, and let's see what we can come up with. So I'd quite like a postage stamp to go on there as well. I want to keep this really plain and simple and chic and elegant without too much clutter going on there. And I wanted something to go maybe on the other side of the page as well. You can see that I have had a play around with this already. That doesn't look right. I wonder if I can swap those over perhaps. Maybe have that one there like that, and maybe the label on this side. Let's see if we can get this to work. You see, I just really like the placement of that, and I think the two pages side by side just really complement one another as well. And this is very similar to the tag that I made earlier as well. Let me just see if I can pull that out without wrecking everything. Of course, the flower is more or less the same, so I really like that. I'm going to glue that down as is. that's my finished spread, and I just absolutely love how elegant that looks. It's just gorgeous. Now, I will be honest, I had an absolute nightmare of a time with this doily. It just completely broke up as soon as I added the glue. Now, because of the trouble that I had with the doilies when I was playing with Your Creative Studio earlier on in the week, I decided to use matte medium as opposed to a glue stick with a really soft brush, thinking that would be much more gentle on the doily, but you can see that it's broken in places, and I haven't even managed to get it straight on the page. But that's okay, it's old, it's a genuine vintage item, and you know, that's good enough for me. I just think that is an absolutely beautiful spread. Now, I do want to add, I've pulled out a couple more vintage shipping tags. As I say, Linda sent me a whole load for my birthday. I want to add this one here. This is one from my own stash. I've got a couple of different sizes here. I'm going to add that one there to that pocket, and then let me just find the other side of that paper bag. I just want to pop a couple of tags in here as well, just because I think those will be nice to work on. So those are there, and that will inspire me to work on those at a later date. I've got no idea what I want to add to them at this moment in time, but you know, at least I've got started. Now I just want you to see what I'm doing here. I'm using some of the Iced Spruce Distress Oxide ink just to go around the edge, just to create a border, because you can see that you know, the bottom part of it is still quite insipid, and this top part is just really, really bold from where I dyed the paper. So this will just frame my page, and I just love the way that that looks. So I want quite a heavy border on this to match the top, so that everything is all in keeping. So I'm just going to keep going until I'm happy with it, and then I think I'm just going to leave the journal here for the time being. I've got so many more ideas for pages. I'm going to really enjoy working in this, but just look how much better that looks. So I'm going to leave things here for the time being. This video has gone on for long enough. I just absolutely love that spread, and I love the inking around the edges. I did end up adding some black as well, just for, you know, some added drama. I love that. Let me just give you a flip through front to back. So of course, this was the cover that I made using my masterboard. A couple of tags that I've made as well, just from Vintage Wallpaper Sample, and of course the shipping tag with just some butterfly stickers, and then of course my vintage pages. So let me just give you a very quick flip through. So of course we've got a vintage shipping tag here. I decided to add one of the others to the little pocket on the inside. French ephemera, all sorts going on here, but all very much with a vintage theme. Of course, that's my the center of my signature. So, you know, just love all of these pages. The other side of that paper bag pocket as well. Of course, that's the journal spread that I've made so far. I'm hoping as well that as the glue dries, that the doily might go a bit brighter white. But, you know, if it doesn't, it doesn't. You know, it is what it is. And then, of course, the pocket at the back filled with lots of vintage ephemera. So just to recap, the prompt, the challenge this week, the theme this week is to create something with the masterboards that we made last week. I will leave the link to the masterboard that I made in the description box below as well. So, you know, if anybody is watching this for the first time, you'll be able to see how I made the masterboard if you go and click on the video. I'll also leave the link to the Mix Media Emporium as well. So many people have shared so many wonderful ideas for masterboards. It's just, you know, so inspirational to see. So I look forward to seeing what everybody else decides to create for this week's challenge. I'll leave the link to Kylie's video in the description box below as well, so don't forget to go and see what Kylie has decided to create for this week's challenge. But if you enjoyed my video, as always, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and take care everyone. I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.